Hello, and welcome back to another video. I really need to figure out an intro. Any suggestions, let me know, because I think it's my least favorite part of the whole thing. But today if you don't like books, this probably isn't going to be the video for you, but these are my top, I don't know how many I've got here, however many books, and I am going to talk through each of them. So if you are starting your reading journey or you just want some book recommendations, honestly, majority of them are pretty common books. Book Talk, all over Book Talk, very common, highly requested, very basic books. But I have been, I guess, collecting books and reading for a couple of years now. I'm gonna say like 2 to 3, but some books have taken me like months upon months to read, and I have just gone slump after slump until recently I actually started chewing through a few more books, which was really good, and now I feel like I'm in a good place with reading. So these are very basic books, and these are books that have all, like, I don't think I've taken longer than a couple of weeks to read any of these. Majority of them have been read pretty quickly. So yeah, let's get started. So first I'm going to start with Colleen Hoover. I think my first ever book that I read was It Ends With Us. I feel like that's a common theme for majority of people. And don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it is talked about a lot. And this is controversial, I'm going to say, but this is by far my favorite book of hers. Reminders of Him. I was genuinely mentally like unstable after this. Like, I sobbed, and what I would do to read it again, I feel like I genuinely probably could read it again. It's been a little while since I have read it, but so what it's about is, it says on the back, a young mother fights to earn a place in her child's life, but is there room for her? So after serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter, but the bridges Kenna burned are proving impossible to rebuild. Then there's the only person who hasn't closed the door on her completely is Ledger Ward, a local bar owner and one of the few remaining links to Kenna's daughter. But if anyone were to discover how Ledger is slowly becoming an important part of Kenna's life, both would risk losing the trust of everyone important. They form a connection, blah, blah, blah. Romance, a little bit of, prison talk in there, but just a very emotional book. And that leads me into, now I didn't actually read this hard copy. I lent my other copy to someone, and I don't know who I lent it to now. So we've got the hard copy. This one is beautiful. Verity, the back says open if you dare. This got me into thrillers. Now, I read it quite some time ago, but I think that from reading like romances for so long, I genuinely did not, like, this was the first thing that ever opened my eyes to thrillers. I did not expect this when I was reading it, and it makes me want to read Too Late, another Colleen Hoover one as well, and I think that's another one of her thrillers. But my God, this book, and you're either like team manuscript or you're team letter. I'm team manuscript because I just don't see how they can come up with such sick and twisted things. But then the letter just seems like, I just wholeheartedly believed in the manuscript, and the letter just seemed bullshit to me. But I actually haven't read the bonus chapter that is in this one, and I just kind of really want a second book. Like, I don't know how she could do it, but honestly, I just feel like there's still more to the story of that one. So that, if you want to get into thrillers, you want a little bit of difference and spice. Now, another one, this took me a little while to read, I'm not going to lie, but once I actually got into it, I really loved it. I think that it's Magnolia Parks, by the way. I think that the I don't know if I'd say love story. I think that the main couple in this book, which is Magnolia and BJ, it is so toxic. Like, it's very Gossip Girl coded, like very Chuck and Blair sort of back and forth, does the wrong thing, comes fighting back. Like there's always that kind of invisible string there pulling them to each other. And it's a very, teeny sort of romance love. Magnolia's very much like Blair in the fact that she's rich and she can have anything she wants and she just is built from wealth. But so are the friend group as well. So they've got, I'm a little bit through the first Daisy Hates at the moment. Then there's the next Magnolia Parks, and there's another Daisy Hates, and The Long Way Home. No, Into the Dark is the last one. But honestly, I haven't gotten into the Daisy Hates one as much. I really, really like Magnolia and BJ more than Daisy and Christian. Yeah, Daisy and Christian. So I don't know. I need to pick it up again because I want to get through to the second Magnolia and BJ book. But I don't know what it is about the second book that's kind of turned me off it a little bit. But I really like the series overall. Well, I can't comment on the whole series. I like what it is, but I just need to get more into the second book. But I feel like you can't skip books in the series because I think that it all, like there's a little bit of Magnolia and BJ in the Daisy Hates series, but if you really like a Gossip Girl, highly recommend this because toxic love relationship, that's what that one's about. Okay, now this Happy Place opened my eyes to, like, this was my first ever Emily Henry book and I absolutely loved it. Now I've recently read Funny Story as well by Emily Henry, and they're both such good books. I couldn't pick a favourite between the two. I still don't know. Like, I read this one really recently and this one quite a while ago. They're both just nice, sweet sort of romances. They seem a lot more realistic than a lot of the other books that I've actually read. Like this one, The Happy Place, on the back says, Harriet and Lynn are the perfect couple. They go together like bread and butter, gin and tonic, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And I love Blake and Ryan, so that's just favourite thing. But yeah, both different books, but obviously very good writing, very similar writing, and I absolutely loved them. I still can't pick a favourite. I'm going to say Happy Place just because it still holds such a beautiful place in my heart because it was the first Emily Henry book that I read and I was just like, yeah, I really like it. But yeah, this one is about a couple that have the same friendship group. They go on, really refreshing my mind now, they go on a group holiday with their friends, but they don't tell anyone that they've broken up. You know, they try to keep it a secret, blah, 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 blah. Try not to rekindle, I guess, while they're on their holiday and go through the motions. And it says, but how can you pretend to be in love and get away with it in front of the people who know you best? So that was that one. And Funny Story, there's one couple, there's another couple, and they both break up. So there's Daphne and Peter, then there's Petra and Miles. So they all break up, and then Daphne ends up moving in with Miles, and Peter and Petra get together. So they go through the motions of just being friends and just being housemates, and then actually realizing that they're developing feelings for each other. Then the other one, can't explain it without spoiling it, but it is really good. So I rated both of them very highly. Now, no one's going to be shocked by this. I'm going to keep this really, really short and sweet because I have spoken about this in the last video. But the Housemaid series, very similar to Verity. I honestly couldn't recommend enough. The first two books, leave it there. Here's what I found. Whoa, Siri, calm down. Don't bother reading the third one so far. I'm 50% of the way through and I just cannot get into it. Whereas these two, I could not get enough of them. Like, honestly, like I said in the last one, I've read them both within a week and I just, do yourself a favour. If you want to break from some romances, get into these or read Verity first. Up to you, but thrillers, they're the shit. Another highly recommended book talk book, Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I have not gone on to read. I haven't even bought the next ones of this because it did seem like a very long romance sort of book. But this is about a bad boy, I guess, whose name is Knox, and then there's Naomi. Naomi has a twin and things get a bit confusing there, but the twin is evil. She is a bit more of a, what would you call it? Like stray cat she is. She does the wrong thing and blah, 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 blah. Knox has a bar. He's very... If I had a book boyfriend, I think it would be Knox or Miles from Funny Story. But either one of those, or Ledger from Reminders of Him. But I just really, really like this book. The twin has a daughter, Waylon, and Naomi ends up in a situation where she has to kind of choose what she's going to do. I'm really trying to explain the books without spoiling them because I don't want this to be a spoilers. Like, I want this to be informational, I guess, educational, if you're looking to get into the books. But I'd recommend it. It is just slightly bigger, and I think the next book was much bigger. I can't remember what that one's called, but they're all, yeah, the next one's pink, last one's purple, whatever. But it was a really good book. I just need to get into the next one of that series. Now, I've thrown in 2 personal development books because, to be honest, I used to read them religiously, and then I went on to read one self-development mindset book and then one like romance book at the same time, and I just have stopped that because I was completely over consuming all information with the podcasts and just everything in general. So don't think that the only way that you are going to grow as a person is by reading self-development books, because sometimes you can consume too much information that you're actually not absorbing any. You're just overwhelming yourself, so on. But this, The Neuroscience of Self-Love, I think, Alexis Fernandez. I read this book really quickly. I remember we were on a camping trip, and I think it was really good to understand mental health, stress, why we do what we do, and just to understand being a human a little more. And it says how to improve your most important relationship, which is the relationship with yourself. So I think it was a really beautiful book. So thoughts and moods are chemical reactions in your brain that you might think you are powerless to control. So I guess learning the neuroscience behind something is giving you more of a chance of being able to understand and educate yourself, but also to control your emotions, your feelings, and just your overall relationship and well-being. So that was really good. I have got her second book, Be Bold, but I honestly haven't read that yet. But this made me want to study neuroscience because it is really freaking interesting and just a really good book to read if you're into that sort of stuff. Next one, I think it's essential when you are in your 20s. Shut up, Coda. When you are in your 20s to read some sort of money, budgeting, finance book. And now there's a lot of information in this that you may not need, that may not be useful for you. But I think with learning how to structure your home loans, learning how to structure your savings, interest rates, all that sort of stuff is really, really important. Being good at saving. I think reading, didn't even say what it's called. She's on the Money by Victoria Devine, and she also has a podcast as well. She also has released since, I've got another one, investing. Talking about investing, I forgot about that part as well. She's got investing, I think she's got a first home buyer book as well, and then this general one, which is Take Charge of Your Financial Future, and that just is kind of an overall summary of each. But I think, either that or The Barefoot Investor, very important to educate yourself and learn as much as you can. But like I said before, don't get overwhelmed and don't overconsume. Just genuinely highlight and take on board the bits that are important to you. And if something isn't important to you, just move on, because you're not going to retain all the information by reading the book once, and you're also you're also only human. But if you can try and educate yourself as much as possible, you're gonna be finding life a lot easier, yeah, when you get in the situation where you need to be handling and responsible for your own money. So that concludes the video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you've taken away some good little book ideas, potentially. Like I said, all very basic that I'm sure you've heard of before, but sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a different take. And while I'm heavy in the book era right now, I think that, yeah, there's some good little recommendations in there. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.